You don't lose your children to the streets, you lose them at home. You do not lose your children to the street. In fact, it is in your own home that you lose your children. A home where the father is absent, where the mother is worried, with a lot of unforeseen needs and bad frustrations. Teenagers self-destruct after a childhood of dismissals, where the parents did not know how to educate, guide, or help them. We start by making one thing clear: there will always be exceptions. There are of course children with maladaptive behavior who grew up in harmonious homes, just as there are responsible teenagers who have distanced themselves from their dysfunctional family. Such good ideas in your children, although they may not understand them today, the future will see to it that they flourish. Maria Montessori. The truth is, as funny as it may seem, moms and dads don't always accept this type of responsibility. In fact, when a child shows signs of aggressive behavior at school, the teachers reach out to the parents. What usually happens is that the family places the blame on the system, school and society for not knowing how to educate. The parents blame them for not introducing their needs and using the appropriate strategies. It is true that when it comes to a child's education, we are all active agents: schools, media, social conventions. Yet it is the family that instills the concept of respect in the young brain, as well as the root of self-esteem or the spark of empathy. Your children, the most important legacy of our future. H. G. Wells once said that the future of education would go hand in hand with disaster. In his famous work, The Time Machine, he visualized that in the year 802, 701 humanity would divide into two types of society. One of those who would live on the surface was the Eloi, a people without writing, empathy, intelligence or physical strength. According to Wells, the educational style that ruled in his time had already produced results that pointed in this disastrous direction. The onset of standardized testing, competitiveness, financial crisis, parents who have less time to educate their children, and the lack of encouraging childhood curiosity or the inherent desire to learn, made the famous author negative about the prospects of future generations. It is not about feeding pessimism per se, but rather about putting a state of alarm and a sense of responsibility on the table. For example, something that many therapists, school counselors and educators complain about is the lack of family support that usually exists when it comes time to hold an intervention for the troubled youth or the child who is showing emotional and learning problems. When there is no real cooperation, or even when a parent bans or boycotts the professional, teacher or psychologist, what they want to achieve is to ensure that the child remains lost. Even more, the young person will try even harder to continue the denial. He wants to look for what he can't find at home, in the street, or what the education system itself has not been able to give him. Difficult children, worried parents and conflicting emotions. There are difficult and demanding children who seem like real tyrants. There are teenagers who are unable to accept responsibility and who love to push the limits imposed on them by others, which is closer to a life of crime. We all know more than one case. But we have to be aware of something: none of this is new. None of this is due to the internet, nor video games, or a permissive education system. Before you teach a child to read, teach him what love and truth are. Gandhi. These children, after all, show the same needs and behaviors that are always contextualized in new times. Therefore, the first thing we must do is not to pathologize the stages of childhood or adolescence. The second is to accept the part of responsibility that each one of us has, either as educators, health professionals or social agents. The third and not least important thing is to understand that children are undoubtedly the future of the earth. But first and foremost they are the children of their parents. Let us now reflect on some important points. The ingredients for a real education. When a teacher calls a parent to warn them about their child's misbehavior, the first thing the family feels is that the love they feel for their children is called into question. It's not true. What happens is that love, that genuine love, is sometimes projected in the wrong way. Loving your children is not the same as meeting all their needs. It does not mean opening up all the world's obstacles to them, or avoiding exposing them to anything negative. Authentic love is the one that guides, the one that begins to instill a real sense of responsibility in the child very early. It is a love that knows how to manage their frustrations by saying no at the right time. Quality education knows about emotions and understands patience. A demanding child does not stop their behavior after a scream or after 2 hours of solitude in their room. What it requires and values is shared with words, with new stimuli, with examples and with answers to each one of their eager questions. We must also be aware that many mothers and fathers in today's Denmark are obliged to observe long working hours, schedules that fit very little or not at all with a family lifestyle. So, what is important is not the actual time you spend with your children. What is important is the quality of the time spent. We need parents who know how to intuit their needs and feelings that are present. They guide and favor their children's interest, dreams and hopes. They are the ones who leave a mark and roots in their children. They are the ones who prevent these children from ending up lost to the streets.